Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of eCoffee with Experts. I'm your host, Matt Fraser. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about proven lead generation strategies for the home services industry with none other than Michael Venidis. Michael Venidis. Michael is the president of digital marketing for Ryno Strategic Solutions, a full-service digital marketing, web development, and SEO agency headquartered in Phoenix, Arizona. With 10 plus years of experience specializing in local lead generation for the home services industry, Michael has helped heating and air conditioning companies located all over the US grow their businesses utilizing a number of effective digital marketing tactics. He is also an avid volunteer in his community for nonprofit organizations such as Companies with a Mission, Central Arizona Shelter Services, and St. Mary's Food Bank Alliance, all helping vulnerable people in his community. Michael, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much, Matt. What a great, humble introduction, man. I'm super, super grateful to be here. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's awesome to have you here. So just a little bit, how did you get started in digital marketing?
Man, I could take up your whole episode with that answer, but fate seemed to have a plan for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got hurt real bad back when I was 25 years old, and I was very fortunate. I had some friends of friends that were there for me at a very vulnerable time, and I just kind of landed in the industry. I joke, I laugh. I definitely didn't choose digital marketing. It chose me.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, that's awesome. And in regards to the home services industry and getting involved in that, was that something that the agency evolved into? Did they start out offering marketing services in general to small businesses and then evolved into focusing on home services, or did they just jump right in offering home services?
Ironically, it kind of chose us. We didn't choose it. Very similar in the sense that the owners of the company in a previous opportunity, they had some relationships with the home services industry that naturally kind of transitioned with them in the beginning of the business. Home services is something that kind of came along with them, and we've really focused on just being the most reputable company in that particular area.
So it just evolved as a natural relationship, business relationships, and because I've seen that happen before with other companies where they get a client and then they realize, number one, they're really good at that particular industry, and then just latch onto it, and then what the heck, we're gonna start doing that more and more and more. So do you guys particularly just do lead generation, or do you actually do like the retainer model as well for home service businesses, or is it strictly lead generation?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the things I think that's super cool about Ryno Strategic Solutions is that we stay in our lane. We definitely try to specialize in what we do and be extremely great. So yes, we're full blown lead generation. We focus on new leads, meaning actual consumer growth rather than just revenue growth.
Yeah.
But everything's done through lead generation, conversion-based websites. We try to stay away from things like e-commerce, and we do this intentionally, right? Like, to be really, really good at something, I think it's very important to really specialize, focus, and hone in on that particular thing that you want to be great at to help accomplish your goals as an organization.
I totally agree with you that rather than trying to be all things to everyone, be one thing to one industry, or there's multiple, obviously, verticals inside the home services industry that you can service. But yeah, I totally agree with you. And so what do you think are some of the best lead generation strategies that you've, again, if I don't want you to divulge your secret sauce, but, in regards to generating leads for the home services industry, what has been the number one factor of success for you guys, do you think?
I'm still kind of a little bit of an old school mentality in the sense that I still believe content is king. I think that there's a number of elements that will help, but without good content and good quality pages on a website, I think it's going to be relatively difficult to succeed. And by all means, rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah.
Here, open book.
Sure. Do you find coupons help? Like, for instance, offering coupons on Google My Business pages, or even in on the website, people opting in to get a coupon for maybe a free furnace inspection, or I'm just trying to think off the top of my head here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's supplemental. I think
yeah.
that advertising coupons is going to help you convert better, right? But
Yeah.
the way I've always taught some of the students that come through here, Ryno isn't just a marketing agency. We try to treat our operation like a school. We're constantly educating employees that come through here so they learn the art of SEO, PPC. But if I had to explain it, very simply put to a less experienced consumer, I've always advertised this, right? It's kind of a 3-step process. We got to rank, found, right?
Rank,
we need to
get found.
Create that engagement by generating a click. There's more than one option on the search results page, but and then third, importantly, is to convert, right? You've got to generate an opportunity. And you're thinking in our industry, a lot of businesses forget, hey, like in the home services space, a conversion this isn't e-commerce. It's not a sale. It's an appointment.
Yeah.
You still need to close that sale, get to the house and convince them to, make a transaction. So I kind of look at it in that sense that coupons, I think, are crucial in that third step, that conversion element, to create the intent to pick up the phone or send a contact form and reach out to our client.
Okay. So what parameters do you use to identify a qualified marketing lead as opposed to a sales qualified lead?
Oh gosh, it's such a great question, and something that we're super passionate about here at Ryno. I always say that in business, it's key to have a unique differentiator in addition to basic things like our mission, vision, core values, and the reporting piece that I think truly sets Ryno specifically apart from a lot of our competitors in the space that we're in. But to answer your direct question, I think your cost per lead is crucial. To me, when you're dealing with a business owner, it's very important to me to understand money in versus money out. And let's also be real. Digital marketing can be complex, can be waiting. And I think it's quite easy for, less experienced clients who don't understand it to be somewhat skeptical. So I do think that we're in an industry where simplifying that reporting is key. And ultimately what they want to understand, right, is the money I'm spending, is it justified? What am I getting back from that?
Yeah.
So it's difficult though, because as a marketing agency, when you generate leads, I can't control what happens after the phone call. I don't control their ability to book. So we have to create a metric that allows us to be held accountable as an agency, but one that is within our control. And I think that the cost per lead is that ultimate metric. But I think that there's a lot of other crucial elements that you need to look at that supplement that, right? Like, what are you paying for a click in certain digital advertisement? Where are you ranking organically? Things of that nature. So I don't want you to mistake that answer for cost per lead being the only thing that matters, but I think that cost per lead is extremely crucial.
So just so I can clarify for the audience and myself, are you doing this in regards to generating leads? Is that something that you're selling to the end client, like the HVAC company, as a lead, or are you taking their marketing budget and generating leads for them based on their spend that they give you?
Yeah, I mean, so over here we would basically charge for like a traditional SEO or PPC budget campaign where they would supply the dollars, and we think of it as like a bank account, right? We go in. Lack of better terms, it's kind of like if you're going to a casino, you hand me a budget, that's my limitation, and that's kind of what I have to go out and try and turn in to leads.
Okay, fantastic. And so then you do that by driving traffic to their websites, and what kind of control though do you have in regards to building landing pages and things like that? Like, do you use subdomains to do that in case they're not using something like Unbounce or other such things? Or are there other ways that to overcome that for other agencies that are looking to maybe, adopt that model? I'm just curious.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you get a couple of different options here, we believe it is extremely crucial for an SEO campaign specifically to be successful by building the website. I often describe it to my inexperienced clients. It's like trying to go to the Super Bowl with someone else's quarterback, right? Or racing a NASCAR race with someone else's car. If we're trying to be competitive and win, I think that it's important that your SEO strategy is in line with the website it represents, right? So we try to make sure we build all of our sites in-house to supplement our specific strategies. But to be clear, when we talk landing pages, right? Like there were elements and sometimes where you might run pay-per-click. And we do have generators that are designed more for, PPC tactics versus SEO tactics.
Because those are two different.
We have to determine if we build a landing page on a subdomain versus using existing pages on a website. But a lot of that needs to be evaluated and analyzed for us to really determine, because different areas of the country react different to different types of pages and different situations.
Interesting.
It always depends.
Yeah, because you have to take in the consideration of where you're targeting, because that's, even though, the States is one big country, there's also, that's the thing, it's one big country. The mentality of people in maybe the northeastern United States might be different from middle America, and they may react differently to a different ad. So that's probably important to take in your targeting into consideration.
It's so crucial. I mean, listen, in the home services industry, we have to remember that everything is location based. I mean, there's a very large world out there for SEO and SEM, PPC. But what we do is such a small increment of that. Everything we do, because our clients are location based, and in our industry, they're only licensed to go so far to serve the consumers. So, what's the average service area for them? I mean, that varies dramatically because you've got a lot of coverage in different areas. Like some clients might be more rural. Some clients might be more metro, right? And how far they're willing to go, I think, varies based on things like county lines and cities
and population density,
things of that nature.
Yeah. So I'm assuming it could be anywhere from a 15-mile radius to maybe even a 50-mile radius.
Yeah. I mean, I would even say it's safe to assume much farther.
Much further,
It would even,
depending on the size of the company.
Yep. And the location, right? I mean, sometimes when you're in those rural areas, you've got to travel a little bit farther.
Yeah. So what is the most effective type of content for driving leads in the home services industry that you mentioned before, content being king?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think that when it comes to content in this particular industry for the home services, for lack of better terms, we have to dumb it down. In the home service space, it's very similar. And I can't speak for you, Matt, but I don't know about you, but me, if you tell me to go and change out the radiator of a vehicle.
Oh gosh.
I get what a radiator is, but I
can't do it.
Know how to do that. And then because it's such a large investment, where I'm spending, we could say anywhere from $20,000 to $100,000 on a vehicle. It's also very important to me, right? Like I'm very nervous about who I can trust that's going to go in there and ruin that investment if they don't do things the right way. It's very similar in the home services in the sense that this is your home in most cases, larger, right, than a vehicle investment. And we want it done right. And we may not know somebody, right? So we invite someone to come into our house. We invite them to potentially fix something, and we don't necessarily know exactly what needs to be fixed or how to do it. So I say all this to you because I think it's crucial to understand that in this particular industry, the majority of your consumers are really typing in very vague, general things, right? Like AC repair, plumbing service, electrician. They're not being very, very particular about what specific service they need.
A lot of different
services. But when it all comes down to it, at the end of the day, it's about the keyword research, right? Like you need to take the service, you need to evaluate the area, and then you need to turn around and do the research to supplement how much demand there is. And a good example in this industry might be like furnaces may be more common in certain parts of the nation, whereas in others they are not, simply because weather is such a big deal for HVAC.
Yeah, depending where you live. Absolutely. But how can home services in regards to SEO, I mean, I get local SEO, but how can they compete against Homestar? Like, how have you competed for your clients against Homestars and Yelp and Angie's List, if it's even around anymore, or Service Experts, or there's other websites out there that are directory website that just seem to have gotten the head start in the SERPs. And
so true.
Yeah. And it's like, how the hell do you compete against them?
Well, it's kind of like if you can't beat them, join them. In the world of SEO, I like to kind of describe things as you have what is called on-site SEO versus what is off-site SEO.
Yeah.
Site SEO is when we're talking about things like content within your website. We're talking about how fast is the website, how secure is it, technical elements that are important to search engines like Google to be able to recommend you higher on the results page. But you have to consider offsite as well. Whenever you're dealing with a location-based business, offsite SEO is crucial. And the way that you do that is by paying attention to what's called local directories.
Yeah.
There are a number of publishers out on the web, and that would be something like Yelp. Called now Google Business Profiles, used to be Google My Business, aka Maps. Bing Maps, Apple Maps. These are all considered directories and publishers. And this is the thing, is to your point, when you're searching for a service that is location-based, those types of directories always appear at the top because Google knows that they are location-based tools that are helping consumers find a business within service area, right? So it's common sense. Like, I'm going to give a boost to a directory like this. And when I say if you can't beat it, join it, part of doing offsite SEO is to make sure that you go into those profiles, you manage them, and you optimize a profile on Yelp or Google Maps the same way that you're optimizing a website. Now, obviously, there's differences between the two. But, when I meet with my clients monthly and we discuss performance results, we are definitely looking at each of those different directories and making sure they are doing the things that would help them rank better within those directories, the same way we're trying to get you to rank against them in Google. So it's important, right? Like, are you generating reviews? Are you responding to those reviews? When you're communicating within those reviews, are you doing any type of keyword targeting? There's a number of tactics that happen in directories the same way tactics happen outside. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
In your experience, have you found it's been beneficial? Because I don't know. I mean, for say plumbers and HVAC companies to actually advertise on those directories, I know some of them you can.
I was going to say 100%. And I think it depends what you mean when you specifically say advertise.
Yeah, what I mean is paying for their sponsored listings. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about getting an organic listing on there. I'm talking about paying them to come up above. Like if someone's searching for Chicago plumber on their site, like Yelp, for instance, that you would come up as a sponsored listing.
And the answer is yes. 100%. And the only reason I say that is because typically when you're dealing with paid advertisement, you'll get a lot of people who tell you, hey, I scroll right past it, right?
Yeah.
The general user doesn't want to be manipulated, right? Like, if I know something was paid for, I feel like someone's manipulating it to try and get my business. And I don't think anybody wants to feel that. But what I think we find that happens is there is a type of consumer, especially in the home services space, where you have to think about situational awareness. And I kind of give you an example. In today's generation, I call this my third arm.
Yeah, I agree with you.
This cell phone device here, in our industry, especially for home services, when you think about situational awareness, I'll give you an example. If I have a senior citizen in the home, an infant, here in Phoenix, it's 120, let's say, and my AC goes out, it becomes a very serious emergency. So I'm not going to sit here on this laptop and take my time and do my research. I'm actually probably going to use this device, search a certain way, whether it's an app, a browser, But I'm in such a panic state going so fast that when you use an advertising tool, whether it's Yelp or Google PPC, right, you tend to very easily overlook the label that is an ad, especially when the message is compelling that is being displayed. I also think that a very important thing to understand is that in location-based businesses, proximity is important. So if I'm located in Phoenix, but I'm trying to also get out 45 minutes away to a city like Mesa here, so I service it. But if I want to grow there, SEO isn't going to be as beneficial to me because Google looks at me and says, why would I suggest you over this guy who's much, much closer to the general population?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, PPC and digital advertising, even if it's inside of Yelp or another publisher, you have the ability to tactically pick where you show up for locations and obviously pay to cut the line, right? It's kind of like a Disney Fast Pass, like PPC. When I'm willing to pay an X now, I can manipulate that proximity algorithm a little bit and get higher and get eyes on me when I may not necessarily be the best option from a location standpoint, distance to the consumer. Does all that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. So what you're saying is if someone's located in Phoenix, but they want to target Mesa and they're a plumber, hopefully I said that right. Is it Mesa, Arizona or Mesa? It's Mesa, isn't it?
Mesa, yeah.
Mesa, yeah. Okay, Mesa, Arizona. If they want to target that, then, because they don't have a location there, which Google we all know Google for local service area, the proximity, they're not going to rank you when someone else is. So one option, besides opening up another office there or a location, which costs money, is to jump the queue, so to speak, and use paid ads to get yourself in front of that potential buyer.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'll tell you, in this particular trade, PPC is crucial. For a number of reasons. For the reasons we're obviously discussing now. But more importantly, because in the home services industry, SEO, you can only do so much. You can only control so much.
You're
right?
so right.
You can optimize your site, right? But the analogy I constantly use with those that are less experienced, it's kind of like planting a fruit tree with the intention of actually eating that fruit on a regular basis, right? If I was to plant an orange tree, I lean very heavily upon pay-per-click tactics to basically generate leads for my business. Think of it as me watering the tree, right? So I'm keeping the tree, the business alive as it grows by utilizing PPC to buy the time it needs for the SEO, which would be the root to start to grow. And at the point in which your business has made a digital footprint large enough for SEO organically, meaning it starts to generate the fruit, right? And
the leads.
Actually self-sustainable. It's kind of like, that's when I can let off my foot on the PPC a little bit, right? Like I'm blown pay-per-click until the SEO starts to do what it's designed to do.
Okay.
The time it takes for SEO to do what it's designed to do varies. I will never give you a guaranteed time frame because, let's be real, like if a SEO company has very little competition in a rural area with small population, it's probably easier to see that succeed in comparison to a major market like Phoenix, where there's an HVAC or a plumbing company on every corner.
Yeah, it's highly competitive.
It's a lot more time.
Yeah.
But for pay-per-click specifically, I think it's crucial to understand because not only can you get as narrow as a radius targeting or zip code, which is very valuable, right? Determining where you want to go, right? Tactics in this industry might be, well, what's the average age of the unit or what's the average age of the home? If we have a community here that was built, 10, 20 years ago, depending on your opinion on what that lifespan is, you might particularly target that area knowing that change outs and new systems are bound to become pretty popular based on the time frame in which the home was built. And so as the original system on it. Yeah. So PPC can be very tactical in the sense that I could pause and resume, a service campaign that's emergency based, right? Because you have an emergency, you're not going to be willing to wait that long, right?
No.
If I can get to you same day or tomorrow, you're just going to go to the next guy on the list.
Yeah.
maybe those PPC dollars are better off going towards like a sales campaign where you have a new system. Sometimes I'm just trying to replace a unit. It's not actually broken. I just don't want it to break during summer. I'm being proactive.
I see. Yeah.
All this is, hey, I'm willing to wait 2 weeks for a company I feel good about to come out to my home when it's a much, much larger purchase. Right? Like a new air conditioner can easily run you $8,000.
$8,000 at least.
To a repair
at least
dollars.
Yeah. Hey, so
answer. Hopefully it makes sense.
No, it makes sense. So staying on there for a minute, pausing there for a minute, really? Perry Marshall, who wrote, obviously the definitive guide to Google Ads, and I'm pretty sure you're familiar with it as well as our audience, at least it should be. He talked about that the most important aspect of a PPC campaign has nothing to do with PPC or Google Ads, but it's strategically important, and it's developing your unique selling proposition. And I find many business owners don't have one from the ones that I've worked with. It's very rare to see even a local business with a unique selling proposition. And so I'm curious to know, like, when it comes to PPC, like, what kind of offers and ads are the best to differentiate Joe Plumber from Sam Plumber in regards to leading to conversions and getting the kinds of results that you're getting?
Such a great question. I do think it's key to have a unique differentiator. Just like I described, the Ryno Tracks is our reporting system. We try to decipher legitimately what a new customer is versus just new revenue, right? Like, I'm not just trying to scale your growth from a dollar perspective. I'm trying to scale your growth from an actual consumer,
new acquisitions.
Right? If I get more new customers, the money comes naturally, which is how I hold myself to a higher standard in comparison to our competition. But to your actual point, your question, I think coupons are crucial. And I think that it's crucial that you have a coupon that relates to just about every area of the company. So what I mean by that, right? Like, if I was going to say HVAC, you're either repairing a unit, you're either replacing a unit, you're either doing like a seasonal kind of maintenance, and potentially even doing a lot more indoor air quality these days, especially with the pandemic we just went through in the past 2 years. All right.
Yeah.
But to my point, if I'm going to run a PPC ad that is all about, maintenance, they click this ad and I send them to a page that has nothing to do with maintenance, or there's no value. All right. You're going to lose, right? You get the click, but you conversion, it's a waste of money.
Total waste of money.
But where the coupon helps is the sense of urgency. So what I mean by that is you want to, in today's day and age, your consumer is entitled, right? We have a device where we get what we want when we want it most of the time. And we're very like, hey, what's in it for me? So I think it's important, that we write a compelling offer that, one, makes them feel like they're getting an actual deal, an opportunity. So if you're not aware of what your competition is doing, you're losing out there. You need to stay competitive with your competition. And I would also say, put the time on it. Yeah. And put the value on it. Here's a freebie for those that happen to watch this podcast. If I was to run a coupon that tells me $50 maintenance special, versus a coupon that says $50 maintenance special, traditional value $150. Yeah. This one's obviously way better, right? Because I got some kind of sense of how much money I'm saving and what a good deal.
Exactly.
Or I might also
so smart.
This expires by a certain date, where this one does not. Yeah. And this is the difference, right? It's like when you're building a website with a traditional design agency versus an actual digital marketing agency.
It's conversion focused. Yeah.
Well, if I take these two coupons, design agency might just make sure this coupon is beautiful. But a marketing agency is probably going to look at this and say, you know what, I'm going to put an expiration date on here that auto rotates. Yeah. And, every week it just updates. So anytime someone sees it, they have this sense of, man, I have to make
then it's going to expire in 7 days from the time I see it. Yeah. That's
so
bloody
see
genius.
The tactical thought process.
Absolutely.
Marketing agencies build websites as an investment tool with the intent on your money coming back to you full circle and more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agencies to build something that is visual, and that represents your brand well.
Yeah. So do you guys provide call tracking then? Like, because some of these things are phone calls. Like, do you require your agent, do you require your clients to provide the call tracking, or do you guys do it for them?
No, we do.
It can get expensive, right? In some ways.
It can. I mean, we for sure always recommend it. We supply our own lines and we do our own tracking. And what's pretty cool about Ryno is we have an actual team that listens to all of these calls, because we need that human intelligence and that in-house training to really listen to a call and understand like who truly is a conditional first-time customer versus say a repeat. And give you examples, like, not to knock on artificial intelligence, there's a lot of vendors out there that are doing really cool things where they auto transcribe calls, but can't have this condition that says, hey, if a call is longer or shorter than a minute, it is or is not an engaged lead. Because again, what we're trying to do here is distinguish who's actually new and never did business with them before versus who has. And time and things like that aren't going to be able to decipher that. In addition to, I think it's important to have a pulse on, did it book? Did it not? Because I can give you all the leads in the world, but if your customer service representative, your forward facing team doesn't book and close those opportunities, you're still going to have a business owner thinking like, we're not doing our part, because they just don't see revenue or the appointments on the schedule.
No, exactly.
So to have a team listen to that and provide that type of feedback is very valuable, because it helps business owners understand like, this isn't a lead generation problem. This is a booking problem, which you may want to, dive into some call coaching. Took us a little sideways there, but absolutely.
No. It was very helpful though. Absolutely. Because,
very important.
Everyone knows it's like when I was at the dealership and I knew my marketing was working, but the general manager told me that it wasn't because they weren't selling any cars. Well, you can generate a ton of leads for a business and have the sales team totally drop the ball, or the business owner or whatever. So I totally get what you're saying. It's so important to make those differentiations and be able to track that what you're doing is effective. And separating a marketing qualified lead from a sales qualified lead, and knowing where the marketing process begins and ends and the sales process begins and ends, so that, where in the entire funnel, because the marketing and sales funnel are so aligned that who's responsible for what, and that thing. So, I find like doing marketing for plumbers and things like that, they want all this business, but yet they're so busy working in their business that for Pete's sake, they miss phone calls and then wonder why, it's not working or whatever. It's like, well, dude, pick up the phone. So like, how do you combat that problem?
By showing them. I mean, in my Ryno tracks reports, I literally track how many missed calls they have, and I'll literally give them. I'll show them firsthand. I mean, I am a total advocate of screen sharing when I do my reporting calls and doing some training. And listen, it's pretty simple, right? Like, if I tell you it's again 120, or even if it's 10 degrees and it's more of a cold factor, like, people are uncomfortable in home service. If I can't shower, we've got a problem. If I'm sweating bullets, we've got a problem. Your home is supposed to be the most comfortable place in your life.
For sure. Absolutely.
So when I'm uncomfortable there, time is of the essence, and it becomes very easy for me to really create that picture for business owners. When I say, you don't answer that call, it's money out the door. Hands down. And it's usually enough. And in this industry, we have like some options. It's not uncommon for them to use answering services.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
They'll use answering services to retain the lead, but that still doesn't change the fact that if you don't get back to them or get out to the home fast enough, you're going to lose it.
Yeah, but it's still better than missing the call, right? Using an answering service.
Yeah, I would say so.
At least the customer is then getting, or the prospect, potential lead, is getting an actual conversation with the call center that can actually pretend that they're the secretary or they're the people answering the phone.
Yeah,
and
100%.
and then get to that, scheduler. Like hopefully if a company grows that fast, they can put in all the segments of the company they need in order for the company to function. Like a dispatcher, going from the call center to a dispatcher would probably be the most logical thing. The dispatcher dispatching the calls or calling the person back or someone.
It's crucial for sure. I mean, answering service definitely helps. I think the challenges that you find is, you got to find a good quality answering service that's making an attempt to understand your brand, to understand, your model and what you do. Because most of the time they're either reading off of the script or it's someone who's got a phone number routing, and they can be hit or miss depending on how well you bridge that gap. And I just want to be extremely clear, like your brand is everything, right? Like we could do digital marketing all day, but you commonly wonder, like if I've got salespeople going out and selling, you don't need people to go out and sell if your brand is on par, right? Like, I mean, there's a reason that, I go out and I buy this Garmin watch. Like Garmin didn't knock on my door and sell it to me. Garmin branded itself so well that I just organically went in and chose to purchase it. That's the power of brand. And when you create that type of brand, like it's definitely going to give you some equity in your digital marketing. I just want to make sure I touch base on that because it's so crucial, And that's the thing is when you hire an answering service that isn't actually in-house, you are putting your brand on the line.
Oh, okay.
So, you have to kind of look at it from a couple of different perspectives. Protecting the brand is just as crucial as generating leads, but make sure you vet your answering agency is really the message I'm trying to deliver here. Make sure you get one that's really attempting to understand your brand and to represent it the way that you want it to be represented at odd hours, because they're usually fielding calls at 11, 12 at night when we're not necessarily our most friendly selves.
Yeah, exactly. And you think that answering services would, because that's what they're paid for, to represent your brand but they don't always, some of them don't always, some do a better job than others. That's all we'll say. Then there's also the protecting your brand in regards to your reputation with reviews online and things like that.
So crucial.
Yeah. So, what do you think about like review tools for managing reviews? Like, do you have any favorites?
I do. I actually have a couple. And I have no problem name dropping. Like I'm a big fan of Podium, and there's no real partnership there. It's not like I'm getting incentive to advertise them. Yeah. But what I tend to find that I like about them is Podium creates a system where they receive text messages as opposed to using, let's just say like automation or botting and things like that. And I like that it keeps the communication in-house. Like obviously being the communication in-house helps you protect that brand. But this is the thing is I'm an advocate of reviews. Like it is a ranking factor, especially in offsite SEO. Like we talked about directories earlier. Google Maps, it's not uncommon that I see it do 25 to 30% of the call volume a month for the clients that we represent in home services. Like if you are neglecting Google Maps,
so if you're neglecting local SEO,
get you to walk away from out of this podcast is set your profile up and pursue it, actively engage with it, because it's 100% free and it's a complete game changer organically with offsite. You need to have to manage a website for you to generate free leads off of Google Maps by just paying attention to it. But to get yourself to rank, you've got to generate reviews. So review generation tools, I'm a fan of it as long as the reviews are real, they're organic, and more importantly, that you're actually responding to those reviews with thoughtful tactics.
Yeah. What do businesses do who, like, let's be frank, there are some people out there. I have a friend who's a plumber, but he doesn't have a physical location. His physical location is his house. He doesn't care to spend the money on the overhead to go and get a bloody storefront picture and interior pictures. I mean, at the very least, he'll get a virtual address at a virtual office, but other than that, he's not interested in spending the capital to have those types of things. And I got another friend who's a home inspector. Like he's never going to have a It's totally unnecessary for him to have a office, physical building with a sign on it that costs $5,000 or whatever. Like, are they at a disadvantage because of that with a Google My Business listing?
Yeah, that's a amazing question. I mean, Google does allow you to create service area listings so that you don't have to have a physical location. But I do believe, from what I've seen over 10 years, that physical locations respond better in the algorithm.
Yeah.
And I've seen a number of things happen, right? Like at the end of the day, like you can create a physical location as long as you're capable of sending a postcard there and proving that you have access to the mail, right?
Yeah.
Now you get this, like some people have no problem using their house and advertising that, but it just depends. It's a risk, right? It's out there for the general public and people can go to that location. And obviously the risk factor is that it's a possibility, but in this particular industry, you know, like inspecting and plumbing, and it's not common, right, that anyone would come into your shop. It's more of a, hey, we're coming to you approach.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're asking me, having a physical location, is it worth it? 100%. Now, I've got clients that do what's called rent to rank. Like they will literally just rent out a room like in another building just to have that mailing address to create a location.
Yeah.
You know, depending on what that cost is, I mean, it all comes down to when you look at the metrics, right? Like how much help you rank to justify cost.
Yeah, like they'll pay for a virtual office is what you're saying? Like
exactly.
Yeah, an amount per month or whatever, depending on, in order to have that. Because I know of a place here that you can rent an office for. I mean, you can rent a virtual office for like just the address for $100 a month. But if you want an actual office, it can be anywhere $300 and up, depending on.
Oh yeah, I mean, it can range. It can vary dramatically, right? But that's why it's also crucial to have reporting, evaluate the reporting, right?
Yeah.
Like Google Maps just give you free insights. Like you can go in there and literally see how many calls you're generating from it a day. You can see who the caller ID was. And if you're running your business, your small mom and pops, like keep track of that. You know, if this particular person makes an $8,000 system sale and you have their personal information on file, compare the number with Google Maps and track that. Okay, that $8,000 for Maps, which is completely free. Does that justify the time and effort I'm putting into optimizing this Maps listing? Yeah. And when you start to see how much comes through, it becomes very easy for you to figure out if it's worth renting out a space for an X dollar amount or not.
Exactly.
You know, there's many ways to win the game, but listen, like at the end of the day, you do have to play well with Google, right?
Yeah.
Like Google's trying to keep a clean tool out there so that it doesn't die. Like everyone uses Google for a reason. It's established trust, and we damage that, you know, we lose the share and the impact that Google has. So I always say, be cautious when you're, you know, experimenting with these things, because you do need to play by their rules. The minute you lose their trust, it's really hard to come back from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because one of their rules is that you can't use stock photos for your pictures. I mean, some people do it, some people don't, but you know, I've heard of listings getting delisted or whatever because they're using stock photos. I don't know if that's your experience or not in regards to like plumbing photos, or I mean, ideally people should take pictures of their own work and publish them, and they're a home renovation company or whatever the case may be. I guess the challenge is if you don't have a physical location with a nice neon sign on the front of the building, how do you take a cover photo and prove that you're a real company, unless you rent an office and throw a small little sign on your front office door that you're a plumber.
It's been done. You know, I see people take pictures of their trucks and it still somehow gets by, you know, on like I see different things. Google seems to be a little bit more lenient as of late. Like just the other day, we did a virtual video where we were able to walk them into the office and stuff. They're not necessarily stern about seeing an address or a sign or a door. Like,
oh, okay.
But I will tell you this, something you said there that I think is so important to call out.
Yeah.
Is you want to be thinking about your competition. You want to make sure that you are always paying attention to what they're doing when it comes to digital marketing. Listen, if you've got any SEO experience and you're listening to this podcast, you've heard of Bruce Clay. He's a coined him
Yeah.
as the
How could you
godfather
not have
SEO.
heard of him? Yep.
But his SEO siloing methods, I think, are very powerful on websites. And more importantly, the reason I bring him up is simply because I think where we get lost in digital marketing is we think we have to do this entire checklist of A to Z. And really what you need to do is just do what your competition is doing and a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
That's very important, right? Like the first thing I do whenever I have a client is evaluate the search engine results page and see who am I competing with? What are they doing? And it helps me develop a plan on how I'm going to pursue my competition. I often describe digital marketing as kind of like a chess game. Like there's a million different moves I could take, and I'm going to change them every single month based upon what the guys I'm competing with are doing. It's not just the same things in the same order, for me to succeed. It varies dramatically based on conditions, competition. It's always interesting to me because I might bring a client on and say, who do you think your top 3 competitors are? And how often they give me varies from who I would consider their top 3 competitors.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Have I ever experienced that? Absolutely. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you got digital real estate. It's a virtual world. And if I'm trying to win the largest billboard in Google, right? Like, I've got to compete with those digital guys, not the real guys.
They give you people who they think they're competition. Then you go look online and you're like, they're not your competition. These people are your competition. It's very interesting.
Hey, I mean, I won't throw out any names, but I have a client in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I should rephrase, this is not my client, but it is a company that we had spoken to back and forth. 0 digital marketing efforts, and still, a top 5 organization size-wise in the entire city of Phoenix, Arizona. Just to put it in perspective for you, like you can completely neglect digital in this industry, still be a winner.
Oh wow!
But digital is just, I would tell you that it's going to be your next best friend outside of branding and word of mouth. Yeah,
I agree with you.
You were going to say something. Sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, I can't remember what it was. That's okay. I can't remember what it was. It was, you had mentioned about tracking the leads and things like that. Like, do you guys, as your agency, like for me, the number one way for business owners to track those leads is CRMs, but for Pete's sake, hardly any of them are even using them in my experience.
Yeah. Like if you're asking me like how I'm tracking leads to my organization here at Ryno, it's obviously
for your clients though, like the you just mentioned this plumber or someone that I know you're using a platform that you guys have to track if you're generating new business. I'm assuming you're doing that with your own internal CRM.
100%.
What about the plumber that, is he using your CRM, or do you guys recommend CRMs to people?
No, absolutely. I can answer both of those things. Like for us, we use in-house here, we use Salesforce. And I think that the reason Salesforce has been so valuable for us is because really, if you can dream it, it can be done, with the help of
Salesforce
developers. If you don't have access to, high level developers or, something of that nature, my next suggestion would be HubSpot, because I think it's a lot more user friendly and kind of out of the box with less customization and requirements to use operationally. But if we're talking about an actual home services client, probably the most commonly talked about field management software in the space that you can hear about is ServiceTitan. Yes, and they got some alternative options. House Call Pro, Field Edge.
Yeah, Field Edge. I've heard of Field Edge. There's also GetJobber. They're a Canadian darling because they're another one of the billion-dollar evaluated companies in the world. Yep. But anyway.
Some of these guys have integrations with Google too, which makes it convenient. But super clear, this is a field management software. I might not necessarily suggest that as like an actual CRM. Like I still think you're going to go back to companies like Salesforce and HubSpot to be able to do that unless you wish to build something in-house. Yeah. Interesting. I would love to have you back on the show. We're coming to the top of the hour. There's so many things we could talk about. Like I love doing the difference between Salesforce and field management software and the pros and cons of those two things. But maybe I would love to have you back on. What's one takeaway you'd like people to get from this episode? Our listeners. Man, it's a loaded question, but I would tell you guys, listen, here at Ryno, we exist to grow your business, period. That's our statement here. And I think that if I could recommend any piece of advice outside of the things that I've already mentioned, right? Like if you're neglecting Google Maps, you are missing out so big, and it's 100% free, very easily done in-house. You don't even need to hire a marketing agency to generate those free opportunities.
Yeah.
But I would say outside of that, like understand your reporting. It's so crucial. In digital marketing, the quality you get is how much you're going to hold them accountable. Ask questions, understand like what is know what is success, what is not. Be aware of what your average tickets are as a company and ask how much I'm paying for these leads. Because if it's costing me $100 to generate a new customer, and I know the average ticket for the type of service that they want is going to be $1,000, it sounds like a
good ROI
once you start to evaluate profit margins and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Know your reporting. Have a pulse. That's my advice.
Absolutely. Hey, Michael, how can our listeners connect with you online?
Hey, absolutely, man. I love it. Guys, I love talking shop. I love teaching. I do a ton of webinars regularly, things like that. The best way to communicate with me, because my calendar is always very tight, is email. But I'm super thorough. I definitely evaluate those. My email is M as in Michael, Venidis. That's VENIDIS. And that's at rynoss.com. RYNOSS.com. And
are you on LinkedIn or anything like that?
I am on LinkedIn. LinkedIn.com/MVenidis.
MVenidis. Right on. Hey, it's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And I want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to do so.
Matt, thank you so much, man. I'm grateful.
No problem. Thanks, Scott. You have a great day.
You too.